violence, a crime that requires punishment, an exploitation of a person, and it, just like slavery, can't be made a little bit better. Sex work is a performance of forced sexual acts and rape for which a woman receives compensation. Those are not my words, but that's exactly what a Facebook post from Centrs Marta said in 2021. Although they didn't use the term sex work, but prostitution instead. But I'm not going to repeat that term for two reasons. One, it is considered derogatory in the sex worker community. And two, it only focuses on one area of sex work, when in reality, there's many. When it comes to the discussion of sex work in Latvia, it is still a taboo topic that most people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. It is heavily stigmatized, and actual sex workers have never been included in conversations about sex work in Latvia. Until now. So, who am I to talk? My name is Line. I've been an online sex worker for the past 9 years, and last year I formed a sex worker activist group called Latvian Sex Workers Alliance. We believe that sex work should be destigmatized and decriminalized to improve the well-being and safety of all sex workers in Latvia. And we believe that laws about sex work should not be made without participation of people with lived experience in the adult industry. So let's take a look at some current laws that impact sex workers in Latvia. First of all, advertising sexual services is prohibited. While the penalty for breaking this law has ceased to exist in 2020, the law still exists. Next, sex workers can provide services only in premises that are owned or rented by them, and said premises cannot be closer than 100 meters from an educational institution or a church, and no one in property must object to sex work taking place. And the last one I'd like to mention, sex workers are forced to work alone, putting their safety at risk because the law prohibits collective working. But wait, what does sex work have to do with intersectional feminism? Unlike radical feminism, intersectional feminism argues that people should have agency over their labor choices and be protected from exploitation regardless of occupation. It also believes that individuals should have control over their own bodies and sexual lives. Last but not least, there is a huge and important overlap between the sex worker community and the following communities: LGBTQ plus people, migrants, disabled people, and people facing poverty. Now that you know that, let's go back to the problematic Facebook post from Centrs Marta that I started the speech with. Sex work is not inherently violent or exploitative, but the lack of workers' rights and protections can make it unsafe and create this type of environment where violence and exploitation thrives. And you might think, where's the problem if sex work is legal in Latvia? See, legalization without labor rights, workplace protections, and the ability to work together just creates a legal gray zone instead of real safety for sex workers. But really, these laws don't surprise me because not a single sex worker has been consulted when they were made. Instead, we have rescue organizations constantly speaking over us, thinking that they know better. They don't. The last comment I have about this post, sex workers aren't just cis women. People of any gender are and can be sex workers. Before I finish my speech, I'd like to remind you a couple of things. 1. Sex work is not violence, a crime, or paid rape. That's sex trafficking. 2. Sex workers come in all genders, ethnicities, ages, and sizes, and they play all kinds of roles in the society outside of sex work. 3. The Nordic model, aka the end demand model, does not actually end the demand. It just makes our working conditions way more unsafe. Sex workers' rights are not just women's rights, they're also labor rights, and most importantly, they're human rights. Thank you.